So it looks like we are back in the no-sun period. From those beautiful mornings, we're back to the gloom. And according to the forecast, I mean, that can of course change. According to the forecast, it's supposed to be kind of, dark and gloomy again for about a week. And then it's supposed to get colder and, maybe we're gonna have sun again and perhaps even snow. But yeah, for now we're back to the gloom. But we took a very different path today. We have a very different area, where a very different forest that we usually go to. And right here, I'm gonna show you. There's this thing. So we've got animal droppings right here. And then we got this here, and this is a scratcher. I don't know if you can see the texture of it, but it's a normal tree stump, but actually it's as if someone would be constantly rubbing it and sort of polishing it. It's very smooth, and it's as if it was polished, and that is actually done by animals using it as a scratcher. They scratch their, I don't know, anything, legs, butts, bellies, backs. I'm not sure what actually is scratching against this. This, I believe, here are deer droppings. So it could have been a deer, but could have been as well a boar. That would make more sense to me, because boar is, shorter. It's not that tall and it's not that big of an animal. So it would make sense to me it would be a boar. But hey, I believe a deer could do that too, if it would, sort of like lie down and get on its side and then just like scratch itself. So this is a scratcher, and these are droppings, and there are a lot of them here actually. Let me show you. There are a lot of droppings. For instance, there are these droppings here, which I believe they have pieces of grain in it. So this, I believe, could be a boar. The size of it, and the whole shape of it, I believe that could be a boar. But I'm quite rusty on droppings, readings of droppings, so let me correct myself in the subtitles. Let me check some of the books once I get back and let you know more, but I believe that was a boar. And then we have another droppings here, for instance. See? And these, which are like there is one type of droppings there is like very common here, and that all those heaps around here are of this shape and this size, and I'm gonna show you another heap. There's tons of them here, so that means there's a lot of activity in this part of the forest. See here? Yeah, that's another heap. And it has, let me show you, it has a specific shape, It has a shape of a bottle. And that, I believe, even though, as I said, my sort of trekking skills in regards to droppings are rusty, I believe that is a deer, and I believe, due to its size, that is a roe deer, because droppings of a deer would be much, much larger considering how big that animal is. So that, in my opinion, is a roe deer. And this one's fresh, This one's fresh. It's kind of slippery, which is, I know that sounds disgusting, but, it's just, it's deer droppings, and deers eat grass, So it's like a compressed grass in a way. So I'm really like this is the kind of poop that I'm okay with picking up and yeah, because it's just grass. It's like rabbit poop, also it's like grass Nesquik, Anyways, so those are various different droppings that we can find around this area. And if you look around, there's a lot of fallen trees here, which is awesome. You know, I love it. That's how a forest should be, you know, lots of fallen trees, lots of dead wood that serves as food for various, you know, insects and their grubs and their worms and maggots, as a hiding spot for all sorts of different creatures. And then of course it serves as a food storage for all of various different birds, especially woodpeckers. And as it decomposes and rots, it provides nutritions for the soil. So that is brilliant. And now look at this. This is very interesting. This here, see that? This like very interesting. All of a sudden, like there's like a crater in the side of the hill here, and that right here is a that is a pinge. That is a pinge, and I'm gonna tell you more about it, but this one's pretty huge. This one is very, very large, one of the largest ones around here. So a pinge, what is a pinge? A pinge is see what I was talking about? Look at that. Look at how many holes are in this dead, fallen pine here. You know, that is great. Look at that. So there'll be a lot of, you know, worms living inside. Again, a brilliant food storage for woodpeckers. So a pinge, let me show you, because I think there is another one here which is a little smaller. Yeah, let me get through all these trees. Hold on. Yeah, let's get through here. I'm gonna have to account for Drake as well, so he gets over them successfully. I think I'm gonna have to help him. Hold on, buddy. Let me help you. Back, boy. Back, boy. There we go. All right, so yeah, it's right over there. So that is a pinge, which is a very strange term that was used very, very, you know, way back in. Hold on, let me go through there. It's a little challenging here. Hold on. So here is another one. So this is a pinge. Let me check the camera angle. Yep, this is a good camera angle. So this is a pinge, and it's like a recession in the ground that was caused by an old mining activity. And the term pinge comes from a very old word, pingen, which was probably comes from like some Germanic, you know, Anglo-Germanic, you know, root. It meant prospecting, and this is exactly what it was back in the day. It was about going out into the terrain and, you know, make a little small sort of prospecting work and see if there is an ore that you can mine out. And this particular region, this whole area, you know, not just this forest, but this entire region here in the country, is one of the most important, and like was, and probably I guess still is, one of the most largest and most important, how do you call it, like there were, it's an area with the most important and largest deposits of gold in Europe, you know, and historically it was, you know. So this was a region where gold was being mined since very early on in the early Middle Ages. And these pinge that you found to this day in the forests, and mostly in the forests actually, are the remnants of it, you know. So a gold was being mined here in this specific place right now where we're standing, and in all sorts of different places around here. You can find these pinge, like there is hundreds and thousands of them around here scattered, and they're these remnants of the gold mining activity. Now pinge is created, you know, it's this shape that looks like a crater is created through a mining activity that is carried out on the surface. So how it worked is that they did the prospecting, they found the gold vein, and they started to create a shaft, you know, that they were mining and mining. Like it was probably somewhere here. The middle of it was probably somewhere here, you know, where the recess is most prominent. So they created the shaft there, and this heap right here is probably the material that was carried out, you know. And I mean, of course, it's scattered all over the place. Probably around here everywhere is where the mined out material came out. And they were mining, and they created this shaft that went straight down usually, or often went straight down, sometimes probably inside the hill. So it was not straight down, it was kind of like diagonal. And until like when they found gold, they kept on digging, they got the gold they wanted, and then the mine was abandoned, or it collapsed. I guess that happened often too. While they were mining, it collapsed because it was not carried out like nowadays, the mining, you know. It was not reinforced and anything, so it's pretty dangerous work, I imagine. So they found the gold, and then they left, and the mine was abandoned, and it collapsed. And when it collapsed, the shaft, like, you know, collapsed inside, the terrain usually around it as well. So it created this sort of crater shape, and time after time it was, you know, covered with, like, you know, leaves and dead wood and all sorts of that. And after centuries, it looks like this. It looks like a crater. It almost, you would say, maybe it's like a natural thing, right? Look at here, like there is another sort of spot that is, hold on, so let me check how you can see, sort of, can't see the display. I can see it. So here is another recession that is pretty deep. It's like, I don't know, 1.5 meters. All of a sudden there's a 1.5 meters a hole, you know, all of a sudden out of nowhere. And this is what you're finding around here, and this is exactly the remnants of the gold mining activity, and something you call a pinge, or actually binge. There is another word, binge, that was also used. And so you had pinge and binge, and also there was a word binger that was kind of connected to it. It was like a mining slang, binger. So I'm kind of wondering if binge watching has something to do with it, you know, like mining out, I don't know, TV series. It's kind of strange, but yeah, I was wondering if it has anything to do with it. So this is a pinge, and the earliest types of these kind of mines were created in 13th and 14th century, you know. I'm not sure which this one dates from. This one could have dated from that early on, or also it resumed there after 13th and 14th century, which was probably the boom of like the gold mining. And then, ouch, sorry, got hit by a branch. The mining activity resumed in strength in 16th and 17th century. So this could be a little early on, you know. But yeah, it's very, very old, you know. And the one that we seen, the first one, is pretty huge actually. See, hold on, let me show you. There's another one here. See that? So yeah, so again, you've got this heap in the middle, just probably the material and the all the earth and the rocks and everything that was carried out of the shaft. And here you got this recession here. So I'm not sure where the shaft was here. You know, this looks, maybe this was probably even older. So maybe this one is from the 13th or 14th century, because it's already very, you know, sort of blended in with the terrain. But this was most likely a pinge as well. So yeah, this is the quite interesting fact about this region, is that it was, and I guess probably still is, one of the most sort of rich sites in terms of gold ore in the entire Europe. And there has been actually, back like 10 years back, there has been attempts to resume that gold mining. A lot of people protested because gold mining nowadays, the way it's being used, the way it's being extracted, is incredibly, well, damaging to the environment and unsustainable. So of course everyone was against it. So yeah, that's a little bit of an interesting piece about that. And here we are in a part that actually had a wildfire, which is quite an unusual thing in these parts of the I would say in these parts of the world. We don't really have that many wildfires. But there was an actual wildfire that happened yesterday. Well, that would look very different, but it happened last summer. Yeah, and I remember seeing the smoke. I just recalled, you know, historic moment. I've got a napkin and I'm gonna blow my nose. Wow, look at that. I finally recall to blow my nose. All right, so yeah, great, awesome. Finally got to me. So glad. So yeah, what am I saying? So last summer, I was working and I saw a smoke, you know, coming out from this forest, because it's facing the window that is in my you know, sort of working room or like office room. So I saw a smoke rising from this part of the forest, and it was getting stronger and stronger. I was like, damn, that is not good, you know, something's going on. So I was like thinking, like, should I call like firefighters, you know? And before I could, you know, really because I saw, actually there was a tractor here and I saw some people, and so I was like, are they like burning something? And it looks like, you know, the forest caught on fire. So I was like hesitant, otherwise I would call right away. I was like, there are some people, they see it. So is it them, or is it some like foresters burning some wood or something? So I wasn't quite sure, but it was very, very, very sketchy and very, very, very strange. Well, and then before I was like, okay, let's call, or I don't know, you know, I was really uncertain what to do. I heard the firefighters, you know, arriving to the scene. And yeah, so like someone, either those people from those tractors or like someone else, called the firefighters, and they came in and they quenched the fire. They you know, dealt with the situation. And to be quite honest, I don't remember what happened. I think they wrote something about it in like a local sort of newsletter, but to be honest, I don't recall what they wrote. You know, it was like, I think they just wrote there was a fire in the forest and they put it out. But what I find, and this is the first time I'm here, this is the first time I'm seeing, actually I saw it yesterday, but for the first time, but like what I find really strange is the way these burn spots are situated and placed. You know, there's one spot burnt that is here. There's another one that is here. There is another one that is over there, and there is another one that is over there. It's like different hot spots where it was burning. And I don't know much about wildfires, but I feel like if something burns and there is a wildfire, it spreads. I mean, there is the saying, it spreads like wildfire, right? So, I mean, if you can imagine, I don't know how it could start it, but okay, there is a fire that starts at one point. Then, so how is it spreading? Like this, right? Like this, you know? Or depending on how the wind is blowing, it spreads like this or that way, you know? But this is here, there, and there. So I find it very weird, to be honest. And actually it looks intentional. So I don't know if that was a work of an arsonist, if there was actually an arson, that someone came in and just try to light the forest on fire. I don't really know. Or if it was the people that were here with the tractors. Oh, there are deer over there, roe deer, you know. If it was them, oh, look at that, see them running with their little white bottoms. That's cute. See them? It's like 5 of them. Nice. And by the way, there's a nice feeder here. Finally, there's a nice feeder with grains, you know. No dough, no fucking weird thing. Just grain and some salt lick. A roast one, you know. Wow, Himalayan salt. Oh, ho, ho. Someone's a food connoisseur here. But yeah, there's a lookout, a gamekeeper's lookout right there. So, you know, I mean, that's usually the case. They put this feeder and then they have the lookout there so they can monitor and shoot the animals. But yeah, at least they have just great, like this is kind of how I imagine a feeder, you know. Like I would put some more like stuff, perhaps like I don't know, you know, some more munchies for them, you know, like the good stuff, not just grain, you know. And definitely not bread though. But anyways, that was kind of all right. So what was I saying? Yeah, I was wondering if it's actually a work of an arsonist, you know, that someone set the forest intentionally on fire. Or, you know, and there is another possibility, because it looked like there were like piles of wood in each of those sort of epicenters. And maybe, given the people there that I saw with these tractors, you know, that were there, or there was like one tractor and some like old car or something, I don't remember exactly. Maybe those were the people that owned this forest, and they were burning some wood, and it was dry, it was summer, it was hot, and it got out of their hands, you know, and they called the firefighters and they put it out. So that theory is probably the closest to the truth, actually. So most likely, to be honest, yes. By the way, there's a lot of Draco. Nej, to fuj. Fuj to. Yeah, there's a dead animal over there. We're gonna check. I just said fuj to Drake, which is like no Drake, leave it. Draco fuj. And he still went and sniffed it. It's fine. So there's a lot of, you know, digging around here. I think, which is carried out by boars. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me show you. Yeah, now you're gonna see it. There's a lot of like digging that was done here that is quite likely by boars. And there is a dead animal over there we can check out. There's a lot of deer droppings, and we just saw roe deer, so this digging probably could be done by them as well. Yeah, because I can't see any boar droppings, so yeah, most likely that was done by deer. And there's a lot of shed fur here, and right over there in the middle is a skeleton of a deer, and that is most likely, being how huge it is, that's most likely a red deer's skeleton with all the hoofs attached. Yeah, it's like a lower half, or yeah, well, there are 4 legs, so yeah, all 4 legs here. It looks pretty old, actually. And ooh, yeah, there's a piece of skin here. And to be quite honest, I think this was intentional, done by the gamekeepers, because there's another right over here on the by the pine in the corner. There's another lookout, so I feel like this was, and there's another lookout there. I mean, sure, I mean, there are like 2, and they have a clear view of this skeleton here. So in my opinion, perhaps they had like leftovers from deer that they killed, and they brought the leftover here for maybe foxes, you know, because that's another animal that they definitely will shoot as well, and you know, sort of control, quote unquote. So I think they put it there for predators, so they can shoot some foxes. Yeah, because otherwise there's nothing else that would be, you know, picking that skeleton clean. I would imagine foxes, I would imagine ravens, I would imagine buzzards, badgers maybe. Yeah, and some other like smaller carnivores, perhaps. I'm not sure if like this in the middle of the field, but fox for sure. And as far as I remember, gamekeepers are sort of fond of foxes. Yeah, like fond in, oh, I'll shoot you fond kind of way. So yeah, they like to shoot things. And I know I sound incredibly biased towards gamekeepers, but I'm sorry, it's just the way it is, you know, especially around here, you know, that's the way it is. There are folks that like to shoot things, you know, and I was not sort of like, no one ever showed me that it's otherwise, you know. No one ever convinced me that no, like, gamekeepers are also good people. Again, as I said in one of the earliest videos I've made, I believe there's good people among them. I believe so, definitely, 100%. But it's a minority for sure, and they're hard to find. And unfortunately, the majority are people who love their guns, and they love to, you know, be, you know, they love to play God and shoot animals. So yeah, prove me wrong. I mean, you know, like, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, because I'm willing to change my opinion. Of course, I'm open to it. But yeah, that's the way I feel it is, and that's the way I had my share of it, and I experienced it. And that's the way I realize it works with gamekeepers. By the way, a funny fact, you know, I actually studied gamekeeping, you know, sorry, that was probably misleading. I began to study gamekeeping when I was 19 or something. So I went to this college, and I really was supposed to study gamekeeping. So if you finish that, you become actually a certified gamekeeper with a diploma, you know. So I was actually gonna study that, but I left after like a month or two. So kind of a funny fact. you know, we talked about the pinge, we talked about the gold mining, and right here we're gonna cross that part where, you know, how I joked. Yeah, it was, you know, I pulled a little joke in there with the, you know, channel was acquired by the Knights of the Cross with the Red Star. I made a little joke out of the fact that my battery died, you know. So I was gonna say something. I had this aha moment, and the aha moment came to me right here when I was walking back with the package I was going to get from another village. So the aha moment came right here, because if you look at this here, this all of a sudden sort of shape of the terrain out by the side of the hill, you know, it continues like, you know, wavy and like sort of natural, and all of a sudden there is this like indentation, this dent that is made in the terrain. And I believe that it was also a pinge, a huge one, you know, and perhaps there was a shaft that was leading like in the hill. It's pretty convenient, you know, because you can dig forward, and you know, you don't have to go down, you can go just straight, and you're gonna dig and perhaps find some gold. So I think this was a pinge as well, you know. And why I had a aha moment with that is that I realized where the Knights of the Cross with the Red Star, why they were so influential and active here, why did they own so much property. And that is because of the gold, you know. I realized, of course, that's why they wanted to own all these forests around here. That's why they own so much properties and so much, you know, plots of land, because of the gold. Because they were sitting on they were literally sitting on gold mines, you know. And gold, of course, meant power, you know. So obviously they wanted as much properties here as possible, you know, because they were apparently an influential order and still are. So they wanted the gold, you know. And this was an incredibly rich region, you know, thanks to the gold. In every single village you have sort of like almost a chateau where there was a very wealthy person living, you know, and it's in every single village almost, which is incredible. And I think that's thanks to the gold, because there was an incredible wealth in this region. And in fact, one of the largest market towns that are here, which has like the first records of it come from earlier 12th century, you know, which is incredibly old. And hold on, let me blow my nose. See, I finally developed a reflex, sort of like, oh, you know, I need to blow my nose. So sorry about that. Just gotta blow my nose so I don't annoy you with my sniffing. And that town, you know, was actually had an incredible privilege, because it was it received a document, I don't know how was it called, that said that it is a royal city. And that meant there were about 40 royal cities, only 40 royal cities in the 16th century in the entire Czech kingdom. So being called a royal city was a very, very prestigious thing. And let me show you this cool statue here. Look at that. It's hold on, I hope you can see it. I can't see the display, but I hope you can see it well. It's from a local artist that lives somewhere in that village over there, you know. And there's a lot of different statues scattered around in the nature here that are his work. And this one is pretty cool, and it says Saint Hubert, the patron of the hunters, you know. So apparently that's some saint that it was the saint of all the hunters, so meaning gamekeepers as well. So yeah, so yeah, we're gonna get back. This video is probably gonna be pretty long, maybe even longer than the last one, and that one was very long. Good boy. But there's a lot to talk about today, so what I was gonna say is that market town that is like, I don't know, 8 minutes from here was a very important center back in the medieval times, and it had you know what, let's get back, Draco. Yeah, let's get back through here. It's gonna be easier, you know. Let's get back the same path as we got here. It's gonna be easier. There's no connecting path over there, and you have to get through the fields, and not very fun walking through the fields, to be honest. So that city, that town, got that sort of diploma, so to speak, from the king, that it's a royal city, and it had a privilege of being part of the royal estate. Essentially, it meant being a royal city meant that it was part of the royal estate, and that also meant for the city that the king could not have sold it, and he could not have pledged it, you know. And the citizens of a royal city back in the day had much higher status than the citizens of a normal, you know, town or a normal city. So that town was pretty prestigious, and it was for the reason that it was hoarding gold from all these mines scattered across the region. There was a building where all the gold was being stored, and it was sent to the royal court. So this town was very important, and hold on, how do we get through here? I think through here. And so that's the reason why the Knights of the Cross with the Red Star were so prominent here, because of the gold, you know. That's why. So that was my aha moment. And I also found out, I actually mentioned it in the subtitles in the last video, I also, hold on, let me blow my nose. Yeah, I gotta carry 2 napkins at least. It's cold, and yeah, apologies for that. Hold on, let me jump. By the way, this is a spot where a lot of animals come to, for one, drink, and for 2, there is a spot like a mud bath for boars. What I mentioned in the last video is that in 1669, Knights of the Red Cross actually acquired the entire village, you know, along with some chateau in that market town I was talking about. And so they acquired the whole village. That means also, of course, all the lands that were adjacent to the village, and so on and so forth. So in 1669 they acquired it. That means that those old border stones, I wasn't sure about their age, are probably from that time, 1669. So it's just another interesting piece of info. And I just wanted to stop by here, which is by these logs. Hold on, let me see. And look at that. Around here in this particular part of the forest, there's a lot of these mushrooms, and they cover the dead wood here, you know. And they're sort of like jelly, you know, like if you touch them, they're like jelly. And these mushrooms are Excidia nigricans in Latin, and the English name is very sort of poetic, and it's witch's butter, you know. And why is it called witch's butter is because people believed back in the days, that there were witches that milked cows in the night, and then I assume they were flying across the forest, across the land, and as they were beating the butter, some of the butter fell out, I suppose, during the flight, I assume, and that butter became this, you know, twisted version of a butter, like this, like vile, twisted, evil, tainted version of a butter, which is the witch's butter, which is this Excidia nigricans mushroom that has a very unique property, is that, you know, it's pretty voluminous. When I showed you, like now when it's wet and cold, it's like soaked up with water, so it's voluminous, it's like very jelly like, it's almost like the Asian grass jelly, you know. It looks kind and feels the same way, but when it's summer and it can be dry, they lose all that volume, and sometimes you can probably see them not realizing it's them, as these like sort of like flakes on the surface of the dead wood, like these flat, almost crispy sort of, it looks like scabs, you know. And it has a fragment, hold on, there's a bit of a, whatever that is, a bit of a litter I'm gonna pick and throw out. Yeah, some strawberry, whatever that is, corny, okay, corny. Ooh, there are two jays fighting, having a little fight, and we got a strawberry corny that was here probably a long time, until we're gonna throw it out. Oh, actually not a long time, 2021, 2022, so it looks old, but it's not. So yeah, I'm gonna throw that out. I think this usually is being left behind by the foresters, and that's one of the things I cannot understand really. Yesterday we picked a cigarette, a package, empty one obviously, and throwed it away. I mean into the trash, you know. We collected it, and now I'm finding this, and no one is walking through these forests, you know, apart from gamekeepers and foresters, you know, because there was an old tourist track that went through here, but not anymore. It's been decades, you know, abandoned, like, I don't know, 30-40 years perhaps. So no one is coming through here, you know, like seriously, just me and gamekeepers and foresters. So this is unlikely, very unlikely from a kid, or from, yeah, like, I mean, the most reasonable explanation for me would be, okay, that was a kid, you know, and they don't know what they're doing really. But no, I believe it's from foresters, because this trash usually appears after some activity, after the foresters are clearing the wood, and, you know, and all that. And they left some junk behind, you know, they left the trash, they leave the litter. And I'm like, dude, you know, aren't you supposed to be the people that, like, you know, take care of the forest, sort of, and like who else should be mindful about them, you know? Anyways, it's a little bit of a rant, but that Excidia nigricans, the mushroom, gets very dehydrated in the dry season. It looks like a little scabs scattered across that wood, and it looks completely different, you know. You would never say, oh, that's the same thing, but that's actually that mushroom. And then when it gets rainy and it gets wet again, and there's a lot of moisture in the air, they soak it all up, and I don't know, like, definitely not triple their size. It's like, I don't know, they 50 or 100 times their size. They gain 100 times of the volume, and they become this jelly think, that jelly substance that is scattered across the dead wood. Now here's the old border stone. Yeah, so 1669 most likely, or around that time at least. And I think, wow, that's cool, I think animals are using it as a scratching, yeah, they're using it as a scratching sort of post as well. Because see on that side how it's sort of like, you know, polished, and there's a lot of activity around here, animal activity. So yeah, they use it as a scratch post. That's cool. So that is Excidia nigricans, and that mushroom is very important. You know, it had this reputation of being witch's butter, but it's very, very important. It's very essential. Like all these different mushrooms, like I know you see one here, for instance. You know, all these like mushrooms that grow on the dead wood, they carry out an essential task of decomposing the wood and, you know, breaking it down, you know, so that all those fallen trees we saw in the beginning, you know, you have the maggots, you have the grubs, and you have the mushrooms that break it down and make a medium for a new life to grow from, you know, and to fertilize the ground and, you know, create the new soil and all that. So very, very essential task, and they're incredibly important, you know, incredibly important in the ecosystem and in the whole nature's balance, you know. Mushrooms are in general, you know, and these deadwood mushrooms are truly essential. So yeah, that was today's walk. It was long, man, and it was packed with all sorts of interesting trivia and interesting, I wasn't trivia, sorry, no, the interesting facts I meant. So yeah, it's gonna take a long time to upload to YouTube. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna sign off now with my strawberry corny, strawberry corny. All right.